Hey, what's happening, guys? Today, I just got to watch Avengers End Game. My name is Maple, and I have with me my co-host,
Chad. That's my name.
All right, Chad, ask me what I thought about the movie.
Hey, Maple. What'd you think about it?
A bittersweet end game. Bittersweet end to this whole just Marvel run that I've been on.
Yeah.
I think I put these two, Endgame and Infinity War at the top of my Phase 3 movie list because I feel that I got the closure that I needed from Infinity War.
Okay. Yeah.
However, once we get into more of the commentary on, just continuity, tones that were set throughout the film, I do feel that personally I think that there are some things that could have gone differently that don't necessarily make a ton of sense within the universe itself in regards to certain characters, where their storylines ended up. But overall, I think for the theme of what the MCU is, it was a good movie.
So how do you feel? Do you feel like it was a very satisfying ending? Were you left wanting more? Did you feel like it was?
I think in the moment with what I got, I was able to reconcile my emotions. However, I do think, like I said, that there were some things that just didn't make sense to me based on things that I have already seen within the Marvel universe.
And how long did it take you for you to start to get that kind of feeling? Was it distracting like during the movie, or was it kind of at the end in retrospect?
I think it was still during the movie, towards the final scenes, that I started to question some things. And I think even in the reaction video, I say, some solutions that I thought would have been more plausible out loud.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. As far as the characters, these movies are kind of notorious for having huge cast, especially these Avengers types movies.
Right.
How did you, again, satisfaction level, how did you feel about the screen time and usage of most of the characters? Was anyone too little screen time, not enough development? Anyone feel just right? Anyone, too much time on screen?
Hulk still.
Yeah.
Is not doing it for me.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because I feel that he could be a cool character. And this whole time, through multiple movies, I've been saying that I hope they do more with him. I hope they do more with him. And each time, they did the opposite. It was way less. Hulk wasn't even Hulk in the last movie.
Right.
And then now we have Hulk Banner, in combo or in essence of each other. But it's still not enough.
Yeah, he feels like a professional side character.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because Hulk could be super cool. And the little bit that we do get, it's enough to make you realize that. But I feel that they did a disservice to him by not developing him more.
Yeah, okay.
And then, obviously, unfortunately, passed over Captain Marvel for the movies to get to Endgame. But even her as a character, so random.
Yes. And that was one of my things with it as well, is that even watching that other movie is not going to set you up to feel any better about how random she kind of feels in this one.
And the fact that she's not only so far removed from the Avengers, she makes it a point to remove herself at a certain point in time, as if there's something more important to do.
Do you remember what a kind of big deal it felt like at the end of Infinity War when Nick Fury is like, oh crap, my pager, I have to send the call, and you're like, who is it going to? And it's like do, and it's her little symbol that's on her suit, and you're like, oh, she's gonna be a big deal. It almost feels like they regretted doing it in Endgame. Like they're like, crap, like we gotta do something with this character. So she has to show up and kind of save the day. I think one of her problems is it almost feels like they realized that she was like too powerful. So then they're like, crap, if we have her in the whole movie, she'll just solve every problem. No issue.
It is. It's a literal power struggle. And not only just for her character, but for everybody.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
discussing how it's been brought up multiple times, Hulk is supposed to be the strongest. Yet somehow he invalidates himself, even within the movie, as as his own character.
Well, the half and half definitely seems less strong than the first, big green version.
Yeah, and they almost make a joke of it.
Yeah, when he goes back in time.
Back in time, and they're in New York, and they're like, well, at least, like, smash some things.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the captions literally say, scream softly. He's like, ugh.
And he sees the other version, he's like, oh, it's embarrassing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not. And instead of him accepting himself still, because they act like he's made it to this revelation, and 18 months of working with Gamma and doing all of this stuff, that somehow he's come to terms with himself as Hulk, when now we are seeing him again in another instance where Hulk can be Hulk in action, and we're falling short. And
he kind of he regrets it, doesn't like it. But then on the flip side, for him being Bruce Banner and being very, very smart, it feels like they also undercut his intelligence in this movie by having him fail so hard at trying to figure out the time travel.
Time travel.
He keeps turning, Homie into a baby and stuff like that.
When saying, oh, well, let's go to the biggest brain we know. After
now Tony.
Seeing Tony.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's after they go to see Tony, is it not?
Well, they see Tony, he says no. Then they go to Hulk.
And then they go to Hulk,
fails. Then Tony is like, I'm drinking some scotch. Let me try to figure it out real quick. And then just knocks it out in the evening.
Yeah, in his living room.
In his living room, right, exactly. He doesn't have a team of scientists.
Not even in his garage. Not even in his fancy
where he
lab.
builds all the suits and stuff. Yeah, he's just hanging out in his living room talking to his AI. No big deal.
Yeah.
He could have just done this whenever he wanted to.
And he says it so nonchalant. That particle, that one right there, I think.
Flip it upside down.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like, oh, Jesus.
And then he sits down and he's like,
oh,
damn.
Just figured out time travel.
Just figured it out, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so Bruce, what do you do here? Because, some of the Avengers are smarter than you.
Yeah.
Shuri is smarter than him, too. In the previous movie, we pointed that out. And then it's and then a handful of heroes are stronger than you. Thor seems stronger than him. So it's what are we even doing here now?
And so we boil him down, essentially. His only strength at this point is him pointing out that maybe he was made to wear the glove and take the blow of the Infinity Stones and all of that surge of power.
If anyone doesn't know why I've been here this whole time, maybe this is why I'm here.
But then Tony does it.
Yeah, I guess the idea was that he could do it and survive.
Yeah, but
speaking of that,
so speaking of a beef marble, I should pull my notes out. All right, so to start with Tony Stark's unfortunate death, someone had made a comment that it's once somebody becomes too much of a mentor within the MCU, they kill him.
Well, and those are the characters who do die and stay dead. Main characters never really stay dead, but everyone's mentors or love interests, side characters, they're the first ones to go. Yeah.
Yep. So, all I can conclude here is that Iron Man became a little too mentory. Mm-hmm. So we had to cut him off.
Too sage-like.
Yeah.
Too kind of once you've completed your character arc and there's no more growth for you because you kind of have things figured out, now it's time for you to move on so that Spider-Man can replace you, you know?
Essentially, I just believe that there are things that could have saved Tony, which is why I was saying there are endings to characters that they made seem that was the only option.
Right.
Where the Marvel Universe has proved otherwise.
Yep.
And so that doesn't make sense to me. So probably one of the biggest continuity errors that I experienced while watching the movie. So it was something that did interrupt the movie, because I'm pretty sure he's dying, and in the reaction I say, we can't just take him to Wakanda?
I don't have the best memory, but table, are they not at Wakanda? Are they at the Avengers compound or something?
They're at, yes, and then Nebula.
Yeah.
Past Nebula, goes to the machine,
and
clicks everything on,
teleports them in through the quantum realm,
spaceship
right?
through the quantum realm.
Okay, yeah.
They come through, blast through the ceiling, so it destroys the time machine.
Right.
And then he's in the sky, just hellfire.
Yeah. Okay.
Down on the building, and everything collapses, and that's why they're all trying to come up and out of the compound, or the new Avengers.
So the argument I guess you could make is that they don't have time to get to Wakanda.
But the thing is, Doctor Strange is back, and that's how their entire army warps back.
Oh, great point. You're right. Everybody shows up.
Everybody shows up because he
all at the same time, right?
Yes.
And they don't really seem to show any kind of limit on the distance. in Infinity War, he sends one of the bad guys from New York to like Antarctica or something, the Himalayas. Yeah.
They can, and that's the thing. He can.
No, great point.
He opens the portal and they all walk out of Wakanda. So the fact that Doctor Strange is just sitting there looking at Tony and is like,
oh man, too bad.
One option, and it's you die right now.
Yeah,
and you know that, and you die, and we're not saving you.
Good job.
Even though I can locally turn back time, and we have all of the stones.
So that's another solution. So like you said, the first solution is Doctor Strange teleports them to Wakanda. Yep. Now the next one is he literally has the stones on him.
They have the stones on them, and defeat Thanos, right? Do that. Great. Perfect. Vaporize everybody. Now, take that one time stone, because you're going to return all these time stones back to where they came from. You've already been using them, so that's not an issue. You still can replace them all back to the original time zone like they had planned.
It's like snapping with all of them is a problem and can kill you, but like homie used the Eye of Agamotto, the time stone, all the time, and it wasn't a big issue.
And he was fine. He saved Wong.
Yep.
And even though...
Reverse time.
Yeah, and locally.
And he wasn't even dying. He was dead.
He was dead.
He brought him back from the grave.
Yeah, so...
He got stabbed or whatever. He brought him back.
We can't...
Yeah.
You still have the stones.
Yeah, just bring him back.
Yeah, it's not even like Tony's like snaps himself and then that's because he can't handle the power surge, the stones collapse on themselves.
Yeah, if they exploded or something, we could talk.
It's literally the stones are fine. Tony is not.
Now, it's been a minute since I've seen the movie. Is there possibly any suggestion that Tony is like, no, it's okay, leave me to die?
He doesn't really say anything.
I can't imagine that he would leave his brand new daughter.
He doesn't say no.
Yeah, okay.
It's really just Pepper coming over and asking him to accept his fate. He's not even saying anything. I don't think he says a single word. He doesn't. I don't think so either.
I think he's just breathing
offers
hard.
Sentiment to her at all. He can't. He doesn't speak at all.
Because he's just like, he's even kind of like looking around frantically.
Yeah, and it's Spider-Man coming back over and telling him, "I'm sorry," again.
Which I like.
Yeah, I
even like what she says, but it would have had more weight if it felt more inevitable.
Yeah.
If there was no way to save him, and she just wants to make sure that he feels okay about going to Valhalla, by being like, hey, it's okay, we're safe, you can rest now. But it's like, no, hey, Doctor Strange, get your ass over here and freaking rewindy time on him.
Yeah, I mean, unless they didn't want to make the movie about the fact that they essentially MCU created a universe where immortality does technically exist.
Right, that's the problem, right, yeah.
And it's almost like we're just glazing over that. We're not even paying attention to the fact that that's actually what MCU did. The time travel, obviously, was already something that's built into that with the time stone. If you can do it with the time stone, then you should be able to do it within science.
That's the only thing that, like, I was like, okay, I get why they're doing all this jumping through hoops with the time travel, because in End Game, they have to spend the majority of the movie not having the stones.
Right.
So I was like, okay, they don't have access to them. But once you have the time stone, all the time travel stuff, science-wise, is like a waste, because it's just a dumb rock that you can just kind of will it to do what you want.
Yeah, crystals. I love crystals.
Yeah, there's a fancy crystal that will, heal. Because, like, again, if homie can just isolate an apple and kind of take it back and forth in time, then it's like, yeah, just do that to Tony.
Just do that to Tony.
And everyone else who died, by the way. I mean, another one is... One of my pet peeves is the snapping process. Hulk snaps first. Okay, actually, let me just talk about the snapping process. I feel like in Infinity War, Gamora is the first one, I think, who says Thanos could kill half the universe with a snap of his fingers. And I feel like what she is trying to get across is a colloquialism that, like, it would be so easy. It would be like snapping your fingers. It wouldn't be hard. But from then on, it is very specifically a snap-activated gauntlet, which drives me crazy. It's like, why do they always have to snap their fingers? If I hear the word snap in these movies one more time...
I kept thinking, I was like, what if they had picked a different mannerism? Like, it's like jazz hands.
Yeah, he's like... Everyone starts fading. Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. And he's in the back.
And it's just like, he's just back there.
Hey, Cap. Oh.
Or he like
jazz hands.
There's a stupid reference to Dab when Hulk is in the restaurant, and the kids come up and they're like, can we get a picture with you? And Ant-Man's like, do you want a photo with Ant-Man? And they're like, no, it's stranger danger, like, we don't know you. And he's like, it's okay, it's fine, nobody knows. But and then Hulk, when they're walking away, he's like, oh, dab. Like, could you imagine if they did, like, it could have been any dumb
he dabs
mannerism,
away
like,
everybody.
or like hitting the whoa, he's like, whoa, and then
it'd already be more dated.
and then half the universe
he has to nene.
disintegrates, or do the stanky leg, like
2009 stanky leg. It's the gauntlet boots. They're like rhinestones on his toes.
Except we're being like poetry snap.
Yeah, he's got to get Yeah, it's just tough because not tough. That always drove me crazy that it like became so specific. It's like he snaps his fingers, then Hulk has to literally snap his fingers, and then Captain literally has to snap his fingers. Like, why are you guys not snapping your fucking fingers? Can't you just like think and make it happen or something? You literally have to snap your fingers. Not to mention, I defy all of you to wear a metal gauntlet and snap your fingers. It's not happening.
It's such a grand. It's like such a grand thing just for a little snap.
So funny. But what I was gonna say, the thing that bothers me about the Hulk is that I don't understand like the limitations on these wishes, basically. Like, what if he just said don't or like just undo, the process of what took place, because of Thanos in that last 5 years. So basically meaning like undo all the Thanos-y stuff, which would bring back everybody.
And not even just the people that were disintegrated, all of the people who died in the lead up to that.
Right, yeah.
Because think about where a portion of even Tony's, mental anguish started was that woman confronting him about her child.
For Age of Ultron, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, we could have brought him back. You know what I mean? We could have done all of these things.
Even if you just did...
T'Challa's dad.
Right. In Civil War, yeah.
In Civil War, like, we could have brought his dad back, and you could have still had Black Panther, but his father could come back again.
Black Panther, I guess, wanted to be king. It would still be his dad, but whatever. He would,
but I mean, but even then, and who
he
knows?
still was wearing the Panther costume. So
yeah, but who? I mean, even if that's the case, because hello.
Even if you only brought back the people who specifically fought for the Infinity, stones in Infinity War, that still is a bunch of people. Like Loki died directly because of that. Gamora died directly because of that. Black Widow died directly because of that. Vision died directly because of that. So there's quite a few people you could bring back, even just on merit of people who died fighting in the Infinity War.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, and plus for the type of movie that these are, and the amount of times they kill off people and have brought them back.
I think that they finally wanted to have the real stakes of it. And again, this one feels very final. It feels funky that there is a phase 4. It
does. And not to mention no freaking end credit scene, the inconsistency.
Yes.
Especially on I feel that this is like one of the most important movies and no end credit scene.
It actually works for me because I think that it gives the finality feeling. Like end credit scenes are always teasers for what is coming next. And this one's like,
to return,
we're done. Iron Man will be back in, Avengers 6. So this time it was just kind of like, good night, everyone. Like, the show's over. This is like almost like a series finale. Like, This is the last episode of your favorite show. So I like all of that. It just is funky that it does feel like it gets undercut by the fact that there is now a phase 4. And we're like 5 movies into phase 4. You're like, well, what's that all about?
And I suppose that's the difference for me watching it for the first time now, is that I didn't wait the year with the 2 movies in between.
Right.
I know that there's a phase 4.
And that we're a bit into it.
That we're a bit into it, yeah. And everyone else probably didn't.
No, we did, because the problem too is that they announced the movies a million years out. So that was another issue that happened with I know the movies are coming out into like 2023. So it's like one of the problems is we had that issue with Infinity War is they killed a bunch of people, but it was like, I already know that Spider-Man Far From Home is coming out like in a year. So, and then the other one on top of that was the if you pay attention, if you're thinking in these terms, the people who get snapped away are predominantly the newest heroes, and the oldest heroes from the OG movies stay behind to go and save them. Yeah. Well, all those OG heroes, their contracts were ending. because they had like 10-year contracts. So a lot of them are like, okay, what's going to happen is the new heroes are going to get snapped away, but obviously they're not going to permanently kill Black Panther. We just met the guy. We're not going to permanently kill Spider-Man. We just met the guy. He has one movie. So Cap and all those guys are going to go save them, and then they're going to come back, and then the OG heroes are going to end their contracts. And what happens? Iron Man dies.
Yeah.
Captain America becomes an old man. Natasha, Black Widow dies. You know, it's like, yep, that's what happened.
Which also, okay, like the Captain America thing.
Yeah.
And their discussion of how these timelines work.
Right.
Kind of confusing.
So the way I get it, and the reason I have a problem with it, and I think I know what maybe happened. Rhodey asked Hulk, why don't we just go back in time and kill baby Thanos? Which is the old baby Hitler joke, right? If you could go back in time, would you kill baby Hitler? And so the reason he says you can't is that we have our timeline, right? And if you go back in time, you actually split and go to a separate timeline. So if you kill baby Hulk or baby Thanos here, then that doesn't affect the timeline you came from. It just affects that new timeline that you're in, right?
Right.
So it wouldn't really change anything. So what you got to do is instead go to those timelines, get the Infinity Stones, bring them back to our timeline, do something that actually affects our timeline, and then go and return them before they have a chance to mess anything up. So that makes sense. That works. I'm with that. But then we have the problem. At the end of the movie, they give Captain America, he goes into the time travel machine, and he has to go to the different places and go and drop off their stones. The plan is for him to come back through the time travel machine. So that's why they're sitting there waiting for him to come back through the
5
portal.
seconds or whatever.
Right. Because the quantum realm time thing is weird. But then they look over, and he's sitting on a bench, and he's old, meaning that he basically chose not to time travel back to our time. He just chose to live his life and wait it out. But if that's true, it means that he was in our timeline, he bounced out, went to another timeline, and then waited. He should not be in our timeline in 50 years or whatever. He should be in some alternate weird timeline. He should never have come back if he just waited the long way. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Just like the Thanos thing. He would be in some other timeline, which that could have worked if they just said, hey, he's gone forever. He's in another timeline. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
He might as well be, because he's like a 90-year-old man.
But that's what I'm thinking, too. If you think about just time, space, all of that, right? And traveling, there is an endless amount of possibilities all happening simultaneously at the same time. So the fact that they're all bugging so much, it's like, technically there's already another timeline in which this is not happening to you guys.
That's true. They could have gone that route. Let's just go find another timeline where there's no Thanos.
Just accept it. Yeah, like, there, you know what I mean? Just accept the timeline that you're in and that you exist in another dimension, timeline, whatever
and
it may be.
Okay with everyone getting snapped away.
Yeah, like, this is just the
then you wouldn't do anything
that you are on. Sorry that you're so self-aware, but not self-aware enough to just accept that that this is the timeline that you're on. But technically, Captain America, there's a timeline where you did get your dance and you weren't frozen for
yeah, but then
years.
But then why do anything? They wouldn't even be Avengers.
There's no movie. Sorry.
Ultron wants to destroy the world. Well, there's a timeline where he doesn't. There's
a timeline where
I can sleep at night. It's okay. Loki wants to enslave the human race. That's okay. There's a timeline where he doesn't do that. He's actually really nice. He sells ice cream. So I think what happened is I think they started with wanting that ending because they thought it was a powerful ending. And later, when trying to work out the mechanics of how their time travel was going to work, they started changing things without realizing that it would negatively affect the end. I also think they did that with Tony. I think they started with, we want this powerful moment because, Robert Downey Jr.'s contract is ending. So we need to come up with a really good send-off to send, Tony away. So let's have him die in a beautiful way, but they didn't think about the mechanics of, oh shit, someone is right next door with a freaking time stone who can just fix him.
Yeah, damn, we did kind of create immortality within our universe.
Because anyone dies, you can always just undo it. Not a big deal.
Like if you have the power to do it, then
maybe the time stone shouldn't have had the power to do local time change. Yeah. Maybe it should have only been able to set everything but the user or something like that.
Also, too, I mean, and maybe, we get, a less righteous but, because something like Lord of the Rings did a send-off really well of super important characters.
Yeah.
Right? I just feel that there's a way to do it. I feel like Lord of the Rings did it really well, where it's like, okay, you have a character that's self-aware of how much that they've been through, like Frodo. and you understand, Bilbo. And you know that you just can't go back, despite the life that you've created, despite the joy that you might have held in those moments. Too much has happened to go back. Where I think you could have had an impactful moment by allowing Tony to have one last off the riff monologue. I said it right this time. Where he's saying, instead of Pepper being like...
Off the riff? You mean off the cuff?
Off the cuff. What am I... I still can't even get it right. Off the riff. You whoop. Yeah, like I sound like that guy that's like explaining... Off the riff. And off, like, in the most Tony fashion of him giving one more speech, you know? One last taste of him, instead of him just heavy breathing there and letting Pepper...
Well, they kind of do it with his little hologram that runs for a really long time.
Yeah, it does. But even still, having him say, "I don't have to fight anymore."
Well, you know what they could have done,
and accepting that that's maybe what he wanted.
They could have removed the daughter and done that.
Yeah,
I think part of why they couldn't is because they went in on him having a kid. So it's like
as if that's his new settled life.
If he's like, "I'm dipping on my new baby girl, get fucked, I'm done."
I mean, but even to say, "Don't worry." You know, I'm so with you guys.
Yeah, but being like, I had the chance to be here and raise you, and I chose to die instead. Again, I think if you just get rid of the daughter, it's fine.
Thinking about how Frodo was sent off, right? Like, Frodo
but he didn't
and
have a daughter.
Sam.
I think I'd be like, fuck Frodo if he had a kid. But
he had Sam. Like,
he's not responsible for Sam,
but I mean, that's his family still. And that's the person that he went through all of those things with.
Yeah, but even if he had a sister...
That's his people.
I wouldn't mind, but like you have responsibility to raise your kids if you have the opportunity to.
Right, and he left all of those video diaries as his dad left, you know, whatever else for him, right? I get what you're saying, but I'm just saying because that's where the movie's going. I'm not trying to rewrite it in an intense fashion.
Yeah, I'm just saying get rid of the daughter. Like she's not plot important.
Yeah, but even if you kept her, it's still I don't know. I just wish it would have been him accepting more what was happening to him. Because obviously he's dying, and if he's saying, like, I just can't fight anymore. Pepper, I mean, he's Tony Stark. I'm not... If Tony Stark was my dad and he died when I was that little...
It's been a huge deal for him. He's kind of obsessed with the fact that his parents, you know, died when he was young.
I know, but he's like one of the most powerful men in the world.
Yeah.
So
what? I don't know what you're saying.
I don't know. It's not like she's left to nothing.
I'm not saying she's gonna be broke. I'm saying like
he still has a legacy.
I'm just saying
for
it's good
her.
to have your dad.
It's not even about being broke. It's like there's still a legacy. Like
but I'm not worried about the legacy.
He still has a legacy no matter what that's being left for his family if he leaves at any point in time.
Yeah, but I'm not worried. Yeah, but if you don't have to, it's like dad chose to die. He could have been time stoned back to life, and he said, "No, thank you. I don't love my daughter enough to hang out and like be around and raise her and watch her graduate and be there when she scrapes her knee." Yeah,
but that's why I'm saying they didn't. But they didn't do it that way. Like they didn't do anything in either direction.
I'm saying I think that if we went your way, we could easily do that by just removing the daughter character.
What I wanted was for them to just be consistent with what they had within their universe, which was using the time stone or taking him to Wakanda.
Yeah, I think that they wanted stakes that their universe that they've built now didn't really allow for because the power level went too high. And that happens with lots of properties. Like lots of fantasy properties have had that issue. Lots of anime have had problems where like the characters get so powerful and the gear they have is so good that eventually you're kind of like, there's no more stakes. You can just kind of do whatever. Star Trek had this problem in the new reboot of Star Trek movies. The second one introduced an idea that would have made it where it's like, if you guys just ran with that, like you could basically cure death. No one would ever die again.
More applicable is Captain Marvel. Her as a character is literally that. Her coming in.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right.
Being Superman,
Her coming in and smashing the entire mothership to freaking pieces out of the sky, out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, how are you going to get the glove over there? How is she going to get the glove over there? She could literally... Yeah, did you just see what she just did? She's just going to fly through all of them. No one can touch her. She's literally like...
Were you sneezing a minute ago?
I know. Did you turn around or did you drop something? Like, were you looking for something else? Like, did you not just see that?
Yeah, especially I hated the visual of the contrast of showing how, like, all of the hero. I mean, the Avengers is maybe like 6 or 7 people, but this was like every fighter, every person, ever, all in one place. And all of them were like, there's nothing we can do. We're all going to die. And then this one person is showcasing how they're basically more valuable than all of them combined.
Who basically had a haircut change.
Yeah. That was her big
that was her personality thing.
Yeah, that's all we got.
That we saw her originally, haircut.
Yeah.
She basically said, I have better things to do.
How dare you, sir?
How dare you? Yeah, I can't really... there's too much going on everywhere else. You got to think about that this is happening everywhere. And it's like, okay, it might be happening everywhere, but the team who's trying to fix it is
here.
right here.
They're here.
Yes, they're here. So,
also, we're not just asking you to help with like relief aid. We're specifically asking you to help undo it. I know maybe those people are stuck in buildings or something and need your help, but like, are they putting together time travel so that they can stop the bad guy? I think not.
No, so
no, that's why, like we said earlier, I really think that they realized, oh crap. We've kind of written ourselves in a corner because anything that needs punching, she can punch. So, like,
the fact
she invalidates everyone.
She was able to just even, like, hold him down, push him down. And she's, like, looking in my eye and she's like, you little, I don't want to say it. I'm not allowed to cuss. Just bleep me out. You little bitch.
I mean, it's like Thanos freaking smacked up Hulk like he owed him money, in that movie. So it's like we now know she's at least quite a bit stronger than the Hulk.
Oh, yeah.
Scarlet Witch did a pretty okay job, but she's using magic. So I can buy, that it's the red stuff that she's using. It's not like she went over there and punched him in the face and he was like, oh. Yeah. It's just, no, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
So those are some of the kind of things I have going on. I will say, like, on the bright side, the movie has a lot of sentimental moments that I think kind of work for me in a vacuum. But that's kind of the problem. All the movie kind of feels like it's in a vacuum. A lot of the scenes have this feeling of being kind of like, now here's a nice little snippet of this.
Very
and here's
local.
A nice little, very localized. It's like, it doesn't feel like one big movie like Infinity War kind of does more. This one feels like a lot of like, here's the side quest and here's the side quest.
Yeah, they shoved in a lot of last minute ideas into one film.
Yeah.
And just tried to bridge them.
Well, and separating all the characters to have them go get different stones, those all feel like side quests on like a RPG campaign or something.
Yeah.
But I like the moment of like,
well, even the opening scene, starting with his family.
It made Hawkeye to me feel way more important than he ended up being. It was like, oh, he gets a whole dedicated scene just to show what everyone else had to share scene. Of like, oh no, he disappeared and he disappeared and he disappeared. But Hawkeye gets a whole scene just to himself.
And not only that, to still make him a character who has to lose something close to him.
Oh, they could have done something fun where it was like, he's already lost enough or something.
I literally was arguing the whole time.
That would have been cool.
Through
I like
that scene. Hey, Red Skull, on a technicality, I already lost my whole my whole family,
Can
bro.
We call that a day?
I'm like, he should get the Soul Stone on a technicality. He already lost the thing that he loved. There's no way that he loved Natasha more than he did his family.
I never thought they were much more than like good work friends.
They were. I mean, stuff that they went through.
I guess Avengers 1 is probably the closest they seem because she seems really bent out of shape that he's bad.
They're a duo. And to me, it's not.
But they are and they aren't. I don't see them fight next to each other that often. It comes up, but she fights next to Falcon too.
They nod to that, right? Not within what I saw, but the nod to that. He's like, oh, he makes a comment about. He's like, oh, it's not like Bangladesh or something, right?
Yeah,
where obviously
Bangladesh was totally different.
Where they've been doing this together, right? And it's like you get the idea that it's this duo coming back together.
Yeah,
another time.
Right.
When we've never really seen them in that light before, but they really heavily nod to that idea. At least that's what it felt like to me. Just to act like that was the most important thing that could be sacrificed was each other.
If they nod to it enough, then that would set it up. For me, I didn't feel those feelings that strongly. I really felt like they were kind of like, they're work buddies. They like each other. But this whole idea that it's like, oh, no, Natasha's the one person I want. I was like,
that he loves the most because Red Skull played that up with
Thanos and
Gamora. And he's like, I know what I must do. And he had to sacrifice her. And it was the biggest sacrifice that he was ever going to make to lose the one thing that he loved more than anything. And I just don't think
And she's like, you don't love anything, so ha ha ha.
Yeah, so on a technicality, it would have made more sense to me for him to be like, to turn around and make the realization, I already lost the thing that I love.
I also think a weird one is that because of the Thanos thing, it's like Thanos had to sacrifice Gamora. But in this one of them sacrifices themselves. So if anything, like Natasha should have got the stone, I guess. Like he didn't sacrifice her. They actually actively fought to keep the other person from sacrificing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then also, too, they dehumanize Natasha so much.
A little bit, yeah. You have a family, so you have value.
Yeah, like...
yeah.
I can't have kids, so I'm... Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's just weird. It's like, I don't have a family, so it's okay, I can just die. It's like, well, you're still a person. You still have value as a person. Yeah.
And you found... And it just feels lost that there was never this big scene of her realizing, because at least in Guardians of the Galaxy, they all realize that their family is together.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Thor realizes his family is the people. It's a people. His dad hammers that in. That's 2 times that we get that with 2 other characters. Natasha never gets that. We just kill her.
Well, and how alone does she feel in the opening of the movie? Like when we find her and she's trying to like run the Avengers stuff, but she just seems totally out of sorts and just kind of
she's just
down.
Sitting at her desk crying, eating a peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah. So it's like, man, she you know what? She's probably the next most tragic character in my opinion to Nebula.
Yeah.
I think Nebula is like a series of unfortunate events kind of kid. Like her life has been nothing but a nightmare, and Natasha's ain't great.
It's really not. And the fact that she didn't even get, that's what I'm saying. Her character never had that full on-screen realization of her family being this set of people, and we still are left with her being like, well, I'm the one that should die because I have nothing.
She never even got like a boo thing.
No.
She could have just had like a nice boyfriend or something. I mean, she tried with Hulk, and even Hulk freaking F's off and leaves for 2 years. Yeah, it's just like, God, man, like at least get piped down or something. Good God, man.
Yeah, and then Nebula, it's so unfortunate. Nothing works out for her, and even her past self ruins it for her too.
Well, and also her past self is like unsavable. It's like the past self from Gamora. So there's been 2 versions of Gamora on screen, and both of them turn good. Yeah. And in reality, what they kind of show you is that Gamora was probably always kind of good. But Nebula, they show that like one version, it took like 3 movies to finally get her to turn good, and then her old version, it's like, no, you're damned. Like there's just no helping you. You're done. And she's like, I know you because you're me. And she doesn't even listen to herself. Yeah, right. She has to kill herself. Like it's so like, God, that's so dark. Like Jesus, man. Like that poor character. It's just mean spirited, and she's getting tortured on screen more than anybody in the world. Like I don't think anyone gets tortured as often as she does.
Yeah, and what a she ruins it. She ruins the plan not because she wanted to, but because they literally write her as if she's so flawed.
Or has like Stockholm syndrome for
that
Thanos.
It makes her flawed. That the fact that she has a frequency that's running at the same time as her future self and present self, that Thanos can somehow tap into that. It's just a random
setback that she has. Oh, hey, by the way.
Randomly, you suck enough that you're going to ruin the whole plan.
On accident.
For everybody. No fault to your own.
Which also, like, why did they send her there?
It's just of you,
She should have gone to one of the other places then,
Like, it's just, that's messed up.
It is. It really is.
Messed up.
It's like very mean-spirited writing for that character. It just feels really weird. And I think the Natasha stuff is relatively mean-spirited as well. Yeah. They're just both feel bad characters. You're just like, God, I mean, at least Clint gets to go back to his family.
Yeah.
He
gets that phone call at the end and then gets blown up. But
yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. At least he gets the opportunity to come back into what it was.
Well, now we have to assume that he is fully back with everybody because everyone came back.
Yeah.
But then you've got like what's his face? So again, we and one more thing, we have a nice tight. Well, okay, more sentimental bits. We've got Thor goes back, gets to talk to his mom. She gives him a pep talk that he needs to get him back on track. And then he realizes that even though he's been drinking and playing video games and getting fat, he's still worthy, which I think was a message that Disney was trying to kind of get. Like, you can be worthy too, kids. You don't have to look like Thor. And so they kind of knocked that out.
Yeah, or even if you fall off the train, that you don't necessarily have to get back on in the same fashion, that you're still just as worthy at any stage if you, believe in yourself and pay attention to what those who love you believe of you as well. And you just have to believe believe it on your own.
And it's something inside.
Yeah.
And then Tony got to have some closure with his dad. Go back in time and talk to his dad in like a weird way.
Yeah.
And I think there's one more. Cap's wasn't really all that much, but then at the end of the movie, Cap gets to go back and finally be with his best girl, and he was late for that dance, and now he's not late anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, the guy, it's just a theory. I don't have any proof, but I think Cap said the N-word when the 50s came around. I'm just saying.
Oh my god.
I'm just saying.
Jesus.
He goes back in time. No one ever talks about how lucky we are. He's not a horrible sexist racist.
Oh my god.
Just think, he's like a white guy who's in his 20s from New York, and he's from like the 30s. And then he teleports to like 2013 or whatever.
Lord, Chad.
I'm just saying, am I right or am I right?
I don't know. I wasn't even thinking about
exactly.
that.
No one ever thinks about it. He goes and makes a black friend right away. It's like, you know how bad segregation was in the 30s?
Oh my goodness.
Like, we just happened to get lucky we found the only not racist guy.
You're wild.
He fought in the war and stuff. We're lucky he doesn't smack women when they talk up to him.
Oh my goodness.
It's just crazy.
He picked up the hammer, okay?
Finally. Yeah, it took forever.
I love when Captain America picking up the hammer was fun because
yeah, it is.
There wasn't as much. I mean, there was humor in this movie, but it was more things like it was something like that, right?
Yeah.
Where you get to now think back to all of them sitting around the table.
It's the callbacks.
The callback of being in the moment of thinking, oh, is he going to be able to pick up the hammer?
Oh, yeah.
And that was when he was more struggling with what his identity was, what his beliefs actually were.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we see it. Okay, he's solidified. Captain America understands what he's standing for. And you know, it almost him being able to hold the hammer, showing that he is also worthy, proves that he is as amazing and great as we all think he is, you know?
And
there's a lot of nods to his ass.
Yeah, they're very into the ass.
Good is America's ass. Like, good lord, was there like a meme that I missed?
After it became a huge meme. That was
Did
a big
it really?
thing. Yeah,
like, I'm
really
like, why
meme.
are we talking about Captain America's ass so much all of a sudden?
Because it opens weirdly, because it's Ant-Man first bringing it up, where he's like, hey, as far as I'm concerned, that's America's ass. And then that's when he goes and fights himself, and then he looks and he's like, that is America's ass.
Yeah, but why does I think it's Tony.
Ant-Man?
Why was those pants aren't doing anything for your ass even brought up in the first place? Why did the joke even start?
That is a great point. When
you know?
Also, by the way, we know he's wrong. They were doing plenty for his ass.
Yeah, so why are we calling out his ass?
I did kind of like to get to see the differential between the two outfits, like how bad his uniform used to be. It was really cheesy back in the day.
Every uniform, it's like the very first uniform, terrible.
Yeah.
Still not great.
Yeah.
Still not great.
Yeah.
Captain America with a beard. And then we go back to...
Well, the more kind of looks like combat gear that he wears, the better. The more it looks like a costume and brighter colors it is, the
goofier
it looks.
Because you see him a couple times where he's just wearing kind of like a leather jacket. Or I guess what would be more like if he's getting on a bike.
Or like a bomber or something. But
yeah.
I think what he wears in Endgame is fine. I think that going back to Avengers 1, it's like it was bright, Star Spangled Banner, and he looks like he's wearing a onesie, just like a tutu. It's just not a great look. Infinity War outfit, like all that stuff, I think is totally fine. Once he gets the beard, he's good to go. And like Natasha, even she gets away from like looking like a dominatrix. Like in the first movie where she wears her outfit, it's just like this skin tight, like plasticky,
like
latex,
Elasti-Woman,
right
type. Yeah.
Then they kind of turn it into like, okay, let's make things out of fabric and some leathers and make it seem like it's more combat oriented and like spy stuff, and not that she's again, it looks like a freaking, like she's hanging out at like goth bars and sort of clubs or stuff like that. So yeah, that pretty much sums it up, man. I mean, yeah, there's some little minutia bits, but
I'd say too, just because I do like Spider-Man a lot as I'm seeing him more. I like that even after he comes back, he still does the same thing he always does, where he's like, oh my god, dude, you'll never believe it.
Yeah,
apparently it's been, I felt weird, and remember I basically turned to dust. And then even when he is on the ground and Captain Marvel shows up, he's like, hi,
Yeah.
and he's curling up in a little ball,
Yeah.
or all of those nasty things are climbing on top of him. He's like, I got it. And he's like, okay, I don't got it, and it's just him kind of talking his way through all these things, but in a very still lighthearted, childlike way. Like he's a part of it, but he still isn't quite grabbing the weight of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But then when it does hit him, it's these big emotions that someone who is his age would be feeling, and not necessarily managing in the same way that adults or the rest of the team would be, that has had years of things happening to them. So I still appreciate Spider-Man for his innocence, yet ability to be a really cool character.
And he's unique. Not everyone else feels like him.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Exactly.
Some of the characters have a lot of crossover. I think Doctor Strange and Tony are very similar.
Yeah. Yeah. Doctor Strange, he's just so dramatic.
Yeah, I mean, Tony's not dramatic.
I mean, I know, but Doctor Strange is just, he's just so funny.
They're both like stuck up, think they're smarter than everyone else, talk down to other people, make kind of biting comments at people all the time. Same facial hair.
That comment that the Sorcerer Supreme makes before, she's like, he's supposed to be the best of us. I trust you. And like literally gives all the stone. Just shits on him. Like,
yeah.
Well, he's supposed to be the best of us. Guess not.
Yeah.
Or it must have been for a reason, but nobody can explain the reason. And it seems like the reason was that, I don't know. Was that also mean-spirited?
No, I think
he's like, Tony Stark is smarter than me. I'm going to meditate and figure out a way. I got to get rid of him. I have to be the smartest. I have to be the smartest in the room.
No, what I think it is that there's a billion things we can do, and all of them end in failure. But if we do the exact things in the exact order, then the movie ends how it does, which is everyone's back, all the bad guys are dead, only Tony, and a handful of other people are dead long term. So
half of New York, no, I'm just
so
from 2012,
right. Yeah, but they kind of, like
2014,
those things don't really count, I guess.
2013.
So what happens is
those deaths don't count.
Well, because then also what about everybody who just died from car accidents and stuff like that? You bring everyone else back too.
Only the jazz hands death counts.
Jazz hands death counts. So it's so we only lose 4 Avengers and everyone's back and all the Thanos goons are dead. This is if we do everything perfectly, so that's why he couldn't tell anybody, because if they knew, they may do things differently.
Yeah.
If Tony knew the whole time he has to die, he'd be obsessing about how do I not die.
Right. Instead of,
just doing the thing. That ends up with him finally in a position where he has to die.
Yeah.
And I will sign off, I guess. The last thing I do actually have to say, unless you have more, is that I do think it was just an epic moment of kind of like the Captain, he finally gets to say Avengers Assemble, which is a huge thing from the comics. That's kind of his shtick.
Where he can never finish.
Right, because in in the comics he says it all the time. So in this one they kind of played to that because they knew everyone knew he's supposed to say it. Yeah. So I think Age of Ultron, the ending is the first time where he's like Avengers, and then it ends. It's like he's supposed to say Avengers Assemble. So in this one he finally got the hammer and got to get the Avengers Assemble out.
Yeah.
I think an equally cool scene is Thanos saying, I am inevitable, and then cutting to Tony and him just getting that one last, I am Iron Man, which is a callback to him from the first movie of getting to tell everyone. They're like, are you the Iron Man or whatever? He's like, oh, that'd be ridiculous and fantastic. He's like, the truth is, I am the Iron Man, I am Iron Man. Right. And so it was cool to get him, that was his big opener, and now it's his big closer of I am Iron Man, goddammit. And we've been watching movies, as we've talked about before, of him learning that, he is Iron Man.
Yeah. And I think that's probably, and I think that's a good place to end this, is that overall, for me, I describe this as bittersweet. Yeah. It starts with Tony, and it ends with Tony.
Yeah.
So...
And the Infinity Saga kind of feels like it tells the story.
Right.
It feels like, okay.
All of the any continuity error I can pull out of it if I were to just watch this movie without such a critical eye, I think in terms of that, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the series. It is something that, if this is the story that they wanted to tell, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And because it's a long time coming, and for what they are, we have to think the target audience of these movies too.
Yeah.
It's not going to be someone who's going to be overly critical of the universe and what they did within here. Like, of course, it's just not that serious of
when
a
they
film.
are, it's normally in the direction of like, well, they did it like this in the comics. Why isn't that accurate? It's more of that.
Yeah. This leans into more of, not that it's for kids, but it's something that a wide range of people can enjoy, digest, and watch. They do a lot of, I think we had talked about that too, where they do a lot to break down. They even point out, to explain to you quantum physics in layman's terms, this basically means this, right? Where they're like constantly breaking stuff down, very simple for...
Yeah, especially when talking to like other scientists.
Scientists, and it's like, you guys are supposed to be the smartest people, but we're still breaking this down into simpler terms.
Yeah, they want...
Where that's really for us as an audience to create digestible content, whatever it may be.
They want like a 35-year-old guy who grew up reading comics to be able to bring his like kid brother as well.
Right.
And both of them be able to enjoy the movie.
Exactly. So I think these movies do their job of hitting a broad market of people, so your kids can still enjoy it and not be terrorized.
Right.
And you can still enjoy it and not be bored or terrorized.
Yeah, if I brought an 8-year-old to even watch, I mean, again, it's still a comic book movie, but for contrast, if I brought a kid to watch Joker, they would be bored and terrorized. Like, that's it.
Yeah,
it would just be like
the trauma.
The parts that are traumatic would be traumatizing, and the rest of it would bore their pants off.
Yeah, because they just wouldn't have the emotional capacity to understand what's going on.
And life experience as well, yeah. Right. It's just some guy talking to a therapist, like, woo, exciting.
Yeah.
When does he punch Batman?
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
But yeah, otherwise, I think for what the MCU has to offer and what it gave me, I really enjoyed this series. So up to this point. All right,
guys. Well, thank you so much for coming with us on this journey that we started like 6 months ago.
God, it's been long.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It was a chunk of change. And we only skipped 2 movies.
We only skipped 2 movies. Yeah.
When we catch you next time in the MCU stuff, it will probably be through the portal of some of the Disney Plus shows. But in the meantime, enjoy us starting to work through a little bit more different type of movies than we've been covering. As you know, we've pretty much exclusively been covering blockbusters. So we're going to try to open up that window a little bit and get a little bit more creative with our picks. So check us out on the Patreon, because we're going to start running Patreon polls over there to help you guys help us figure out what we're going to start watching. So
yeah, and I think too, also working on some new shows on the channel.
Yeah.
Twin Movies, we're going to start optimizing the space of movie reviews in a more creative way.
Yep.
Collaborating, so you might see some of your other favorite channels or reactors visiting us to actually discuss film. Mm-hmm. Not just watch and go, ooh, ah.
Dig in a little bit more.
Yeah, we'll dig in more. So, awesome.
Right. Well, thanks for hanging out. We love you guys.
Love you.
Until next time.